As 2017 comes to a close, it's natural for us to look back at the year that's passed, and for the Vision National News team, it's been quite a challenge and certainly a very memorable year. Nationally, the story that was the biggest challenge and arguably the biggest story of the year was the change in Australia's marriage legislation. Same-sex marriage was expressly prohibited by the Howard government in 2004. But in December 2017, after on-again, off-again, about-turns by various governments and talk of a plebiscite, and then after a bruising campaign and a postal survey, same-sex marriage was made legal. Opponents were concerned about what effect the change will have on our society, but those in favour of changing the marriage law say it won't have any effect. Only time will tell. Internationally, Britain's Brexit trials continue to baffle many. A narrow referendum win by those in favour of Britain leaving the European Union has seen what appears to be bungled negotiations with Brussels, the value of the pound dropping off a cliff, vitriolic splits within the ruling Conservative Party, and concerns about Britain's future economy. Pro-Brexiteers say leaving Europe will bring about a new age of prosperity, while those against say it's inviting disaster. America's President Donald Trump remains embroiled in an investigation into possible links with Russia, while his fondness for tweeting messages straight from the hip has occasionally provoked national or even international condemnation. The President and his administration has had to deal with some terrible situations, though, including mass shootings of innocent people and natural disasters, including 2 hurricanes which came one after the other, devastating parts of the US Southwest and the island of Puerto Rico. If the West struggles with President Trump, the Asia-Pacific region certainly has issues with North Korea's President Kim Jong-un. This notoriously reclusive nation has ramped up its nuclear ambitions throughout the year, culminating in a successful test of what could become North Korea's first viable intercontinental ballistic missile, capable of delivering a nuclear payload across most of the United States, Australia or even parts of Europe. Terrorism remains an international concern, with so-called lone wolf attacks becoming the standard attack in the West by the Islamic State group. Here in Australia at 1:30 on the 20th of January, a car was driven into pedestrians in Melbourne's CBD. Police say they have found no terrorist links with the man accused of the murders, Demetrius Gargasoulas. 2 months later, the Westminster Bridge attack took place in London. 5 people, including a London police officer, lost their lives. Islamic State admitted responsibility for an act which British Prime Minister Theresa May called sick and depraved. 22 people were killed and dozens more were injured by a suicide bomber who attacked crowds of people, many of them children and teenagers attending an Ariana Grande concert in Manchester. The bomber had apparent connections to an organised terror network. Just a couple of weeks later, 7 people were killed and dozens more injured when 3 assailants drove a car through pedestrians on London Bridge and nearby Borough Market on a busy Saturday evening. In October, a similar method saw 8 cyclists and pedestrians killed when a truck ploughed into them on a cycle path near the World Trade Center in New York. At home, it's not just been same-sex marriage that has challenged our political leaders. Most recently, the dual citizenship crisis has seen some high-profile scalps claimed and the government's slim majority in the lower house under threat. The win by John Alexander in Bennelong this month has seen that majority maintained. The report of the Royal Commission into Child Sexual Abuse has seen a sweeping range of recommendations put forward which many institutions are coming to terms with. Among the dozens of proposals, the highest profile ones include suggesting that confession to a priest should no longer be privileged and that priests should no longer be required to be celibate. The Victorian state government's decision to allow euthanasia has concerned many people who feel that whatever safeguards are in place in the legislation, they're not enough. New South Wales turned down similar legislation this year, but there are calls for there to be a federal euthanasia initiative. In sport this year, few people will forget the excitement when Richmond defeated Greater Western Sydney by 36 points to take the AFL Premiership. Not bad for a team that failed to qualify for the finals at all in the previous season. There's a real sense of anticipation surrounding the Socceroos' successful bid to get through to the World Cup finals in Russia, though the coach that got them there, Ange Postecoglou, won't be the man to take them to the finals, as he's resigned. Some big names have come forward to throw their names into the hat to take his place. We've lost some well-known names this year internationally. These include pop singer David Cassidy, Touched by an Angel star Della Reese, AC/DC musician Malcolm Young, rock and roll legend Fats Domino, James Bond actor Roger Moore, comedy legend Jerry Lewis, country singer Glenn Campbell, and Batman actor Adam West. Closer to home, Australia farewelled equestrian great Gillian Roulton, Easy Beats guitarist and songwriter George Young, actress Judith McGrath from the TV series Prisoner and All Saints, surf life-saving legend Dean Mercer, Victorian Minister Fiona Richardson, Olympic running legend Betty Cuthbert, and Young Doctors star Lynn James, among others. But it's not been all gloom and doom. Our newsroom's favourite story was the New Zealand man who was stopped by police for playing bagpipes whilst he was driving. Police say he didn't have his hands on the wheel. But it's the stories from the Christian community that are the ones that stick longest in our memories. And we're journalists, we have very, very short-term memories. The young man, again, from New Zealand, who runs his own Christian podcast, who's won a scholarship to the prestigious School of Broadcasting in Christchurch. The Christian police officer in the US who adopted the baby daughter of a drug addict he'd arrested because, he said, God told him he'd be able to cope. The incredible ministry of the Reverend Billy Graham, who, despite being nearly 100 years old, has been voted the most influential evangelical Christian in the US, and many would argue in the world. And the many stories we tell each week of Christians who hold firm to their faith regardless of what happens to them. So from all of us on the Vision National News team, we wish you a very happy new year. And I'll leave you with a quote from the prophecy of Isaiah as we face whatever 2018 has in store for us all. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint.